importance of representation, you guys. Yeah. To have an identity is so important. Whether it just be one little person saying babinka on TV, as funny as that is, just imagine being in America where you're not even recognized, not even appreciated. So if you hear one Filipino word in a movie and it's babinka, you're like, oh, it's something you want to show everybody. You see this scene right here in the movie? You know what babinka is? It's delicious. It means so much to somebody to be represented as something as small as babinka, one word. So when you have Oh my God, can I tell you about In His Elements? Okay, all right, here we go. Since I got all the media here, let me tell you how hard it is to get on Netflix, okay? Like I said, the first one, In His Live from Seattle, Netflix passed on me. No matter how many tickets I sold globally, they passed on my routine. It made no sense to me. There were even people that opened for me that got Netflix specials in front of me. So that's what happened. And then I went and shot Live from Seattle myself. And not only that, but when I got all the cameras inside the theater, and I paid for the theater and all the cameras and sold the tickets myself and getting ready to shoot, 2 days before I had to shoot it, Netflix called my team and said, hey, we heard Jo Koy's trying to shoot shoot a special. We just want you to know that we don't want it. Like, that's a little stuff. We don't need all the cursing stuff. But like that's what happened. Like that's the pressure I had. So when I had all this money invested in Live from Seattle, and the only person I wanted to sell it to was saying no already before I even shot it. So that's what I went through. And then they gave me the second special, which was called Coming in Hot, which was a beautiful deal. Gemma knows the deal, how much money I made on that deal. But I'll tell you this, I shot it in Hawaii, and it was too expensive. And they told me not to shoot in Hawaii, but I had to shoot in Hawaii. And I ended up digging into my own pocket and paying for that special too, because the money that they signed me to wasn't enough for that special. So I just want you to know, the first two specials I didn't get paid for on Netflix. So there you go, there's that. And then on In His Elements, I didn't even get paid for that. They asked for a third special, and I said I need to go to the Philippines because I talk about my mom's culture. I want to showcase Filipinos. I want to show what the islands look like. I want to show what our people look like. I want to show how talented we are. I want to show Filipinos that are in the Philippines and give them a chance to shine on a platform like Netflix. And then I'm going to bring Filipinos from America and bring them to the motherland and let them perform in front of Filipinos and show the world that Filipinos love entertainment, can speak English, they're beautiful people, and it's just a fun place to go to. The food is good, and I did that all in 1 hour, and I didn't even get paid for that. So there you go. There's 3 for 3. So that's what, like, people only see what's happening on the screen, but you don't know what's happening behind the screen or what kind of sacrifices are happening. Like, that's why you guys, like, you know, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, and we're so quick to hashtag and hate on people, but really understand the struggle to success and what it takes to get this stuff done. Like, I'm not just sitting here because it was offered to me. Like, you know, there's a huge process and there's a lot of sacrifice that happens. So just appreciate that. And I'm not saying me specifically, anybody that's in this business, find out what their backstory was first before you start a hashtag and bring them down. That's all. There are no such thing as offers, especially when you're not the majority color. You know, if you're Filipino, there are no offers. You know, so you got to create an idea, and you got to come up with a pitch and figure out a story that they're willing to back, and then it still has to make sense because it's a business, right? So, yeah, that's the biggest idea that I want. But most importantly to me is I want to also have my hand not only in front of the camera but behind the camera, you know. And I also want to open doors to not just have specific roles. And there's that word specific again, because back in the day, if you were Filipino, it didn't even matter if you were Filipino. If you were just Asian, you know, they would lump you all in a group. It didn't matter. Like, that's how racist Hollywood was. They didn't care if you were Filipino or Chinese or Korean. You were an Asian, and this character is an Asian. They didn't care about specificity. specific, whatever. They didn't care about your individuality. But they did it. They really did it. And it was like, you know, I always tell this story, right, about like stereotypes, right? And then I do this joke about Filipinos are nurses. I go, every Filipino family has a nurse. I got 10 nurses in my family. I got my sister and we have an aunt that has like 9 nursing homes, you know, and then, you know, they've been living in America for 40 years. And here's these nurses going to work every day, 12 hours a day, you know, saving lives, taking care of people. And then when they go home, they turn on the TV and they watch a movie or a TV show about a hospital, and not one hospital has a Filipino nurse in it. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why when you try and find a role for a Filipino, it's like, you're not gonna find any. So it's like, I don't wanna do that anymore. I wanna create like characters that it's like, oh, that's a nurse, so that has to be Filipino. I don't want that anymore. I want it to be anybody. I want a CEO of a business, Filipino. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, cop, singer, I don't care. Just like, let's just have these roles for everybody. And I don't want to just open the door for Filipinos. I want to open doors for everybody. That's what this whole movie was about. Having that door open and like showcase these Asians that can act in Hollywood, that don't need to just be Filipino in a movie. You know what I mean? They could be anything in a movie. So Hollywood, you know, Tia Carrere, you know, when we were, you know, shooting that movie, when we were shooting Easter Sunday, you know, one thing she said to me, she goes, you know, I used to go out for roles and the description would be Asian with thick accent. So, you know what I mean? Like, that was a real description being handed to her by an agent. Here, I know you're an amazing actress and you have a beautiful voice, but here, make up a phony accent and go audition. Like, that's the kind of characters that she had to go in for. And my movie was the first movie where she got to play a Filipino. In 42 years in Hollywood, that was the first time she ever played a Filipino. It's hard. It really is hard, you guys. I can't even tell you how hard it is out there. It's no one's fault. It's hard. It's a machine, you know? And you're talking about someone that's like 0.2% of the country. I mean, if you break down Asians in America, it's down to like, I think all of them grouped together is like 10% of the population. And then when you break them down individually by ethnicity, it's like Filipinos are like 0.1%. I think there's only 5 million or something like that. Don't quote me on this, but I'm just saying, just imagine those numbers. Just imagine that. Just imagine how hard it is to try and sell that idea. It's like, no, it's not gonna happen. So it's like, it's business, but not only that, it's a very, I don't want to say all that because things are changing, you know? So I don't mean to keep harping, and I do have a beautiful relationship with Netflix now, and I love everybody there. Whoever was there, you know, in the beginning that I didn't get that deal, they're no longer there. So, no, it's not because of me. I'm just saying, like, you know, the people, you know, big shout out to Joanne and Neil and Robbie Praw and all the whole, you know, all the executives behind the scene at Netflix. I love them all, you know what I mean? But, and of course, Holly Mario and Jeb and Universal and DreamWorks and Steven, like, yeah, things are changing and it's fine. There are people in there that have the keys to these gates and they're opening right now, and I want to really hold it open as much as I can, and yeah, so you know, Tia and Lou and everybody else, like, thank God for them because they went through the trenches for me. So that was my way of saying thank you to them. Everything I wanted, he gave me. Yeah, he used everything. It was crazy. There were times when we would, not argue, but like we would get into like, creative differences, right? And then, and it would always revert back to him. And then all of a sudden, miraculously, it would be like, okay, yeah, it's okay. Steven said it's okay. So that was really cool. He really had my back and my best interest. don't get me wrong, I had a great team of writers. Like, I didn't write the movie. That's a very hard thing to do, is write a movie, but, you know, you can only pitch, which is what I did. I pitched the idea, I told my stories, as many stories as I could, and they wrote that into the movie. And but there were these things, obstacles that we were fighting with, that you needed someone like a Steven Spielberg to be like, no, it's okay, Joe's right.